Alright, so about building for Archimedea, Temporal Archimedea. How do I do it? Pretty much the majority of my frames have either a build for level cap or a build for Steel Path Endurance, I'm gonna call. And that's about it. You build your frame for surviving first, and then you see what's left off to make either his abilities work better or something like that. For your focus tree, it's very important that you get Saryn, not only because you are going to be able to revive, to do some instant revives on your teammates and vice versa, they're going to be able to instant revive you. It would be also really good to have a sentinel or companion. You can go for stealth if you're going to use mainly abilities. So that could be a Hurusku, that could be the, how's it called, Shade, yeah, or you can go with a Sentinel with Manifold Bond. Then you want your Guardian to be your priority amongst the abilities, that being first one from left to right, first row. That's kind of how the priority goes, from left to right, top to bottom, priority of used abilities. And yeah, it's kind of how it goes. If you have trouble surviving, then let me see, you could use an Arthuss, because it's such a good weapon for damage and CC. Be able to apply viral, cold, and heat at the same time, which is amazing. I just have my Verglas for a couple elements to be able to prime the enemy just enough for it to reset. So 3 elements here. It's gonna be what we need for our Manifold Bond. 3 more unique status effects applied. So for my Grendel that I've just used for the normal Archimedea, or Deep Archimedea, not the Temporal one, this is the build. This is able to survive on Steel Path, I would say from anything to 20 minutes to an hour without much problem. Grendel is a pretty tanky frame. Yeah, good amount of health. Armor isn't really worth using that many slots for armor. That's why only really health conversion in terms of mods. Guardian gives a good flat amount of armor. Grace for healing. And then Nourish is also gonna heal me whenever I use it. Hunter Adrenaline to convert it, damage taken on health to energy. That's kind of how it goes. For other frames, I just use on Temporal Archimedea my Saryn. And this build on Grendel, I wouldn't use it for level cap, but my Saryn, this is what I used for the Temporal Archimedea. Aegis is gonna make me invulnerable. Brief Respite is gonna give me shield gating, rolling guard, surviving. You could use some augur mods to help with the shield regen, but whenever things start going south with Saryn, I use Molt, which is gonna draw enemy attention. It's gonna give me some shields. It's gonna cleanse status effects. Yeah, and give me another shot to trigger Aegis, which is gonna make me unkillable for its duration, as long as there isn't any toxin damage included. That's really kind of how it goes. Like, to build any frame for these missions, you want to look for something that's gonna allow them to survive, that maybe they have like innate. Harrow has invulnerability on his fourth. His first ability regens shields. Amazing. Varuna, Loki, Ashe, Octavia, Cyto 9, they go invisible. The Gaff has her invulnerability frames with her third ability. Some other frames are just gonna have to rely on that shield gating, like, Equinox, Excalibur, maybe. There's quite a couple frames that are gonna have to rely on that. But depending on the frame, you can use invisibility and just keep killing with the abilities. Like it is for Sevagoth Prime, Sevagoth can nuke entire rooms without too much trouble. So you could use a Horus Kubro, you could use Shade, just use your abilities to kill and you'll be fine. I could even make a list of the Warframes in terms of survivability, and because I really think on my head we have frames that have like only shield gating to survive, frames that doesn't even have shield gating to survive, which is usually the worst ones available. Then we have shield gating with an extra. Then we have close to unkillable. And then we have something like Revenant. That's kind of how the list goes. It kind of has another level in between, but it's around that, because there's a couple frames that have an enormous advantage over others in terms of survivability. Like, most people don't even think about Volt in terms of survival, but his augment, the augment for his fourth ability is so freaking strong, people have no idea how much Volt can survive. Mesa can tank a lot too, but when you get close to level cap, she starts dying a lot. Trinity is one of the tankiest frames in the game, by far. It's just a few to mention, and yeah, but that's really kind of how I build. You have to build towards your defenses first. You need to stay alive, and that staying alive shouldn't be something that sacrifices your gameplay. I am completely against having to play to survive. When you're forced to do a lot of stuff to survive. That's why I've always hated protective sling, previous protective dash. I always hated it so much because some frames felt so weak back in the day that you just needed to stop everything you're doing. Not even the shield gate is gonna take you for a long time, and you would just have to protective sling, protective dash every 5 seconds. And for me, that is not a way of playing. Today, with so many resources that we have available, I don't think that's really necessary anymore, unless you're playing with something that's really terrible. And by talking about stuff that's really terrible, you guys know that Warframe it isn't really a game about having bad weapons and bad Warframes. It's the game of effort. It really goes into how much effort are you willing to put to make something good, because we just have enough resources to do that. Even the shittiest weapon that you might think of can be a good weapon or can be buffed enough to perform well. That's how it goes. Yeah. Fix your frame so you don't sacrifice your gameplay. Then focus on the damage. Make your builds on your weapons to kill pretty much any level. That's another thing about building weapons. It's pretty much building them. If they can kill level cap, they can kill anything in the game, pretty much. So that's it. Build for high level to make these missions. After you do that, they're not gonna be that big of a challenge. And always take advantage of the stuff that you can. Like, your consumables are very important. It is, in my opinion, extremely important to use specters and a crewmate. A well-equipped crewmate will clear enemies like they're nothing. Specters are so helpful, especially the Dante Spectre, which in my opinion is the best Spectre in the game. And yeah, that's it. When you build stuff and you use what's available, especially that I mean now, it's more layers of invulnerability, the more stuff you use right, it will reduces your chances of dying. You know, that's really kind of how it goes. You build your sentinel properly, you build your crewmate properly, you're using specters, you have either your shield gating, your invulnerability frames, iframes. Use all of that to your favor, and you're not gonna have any trouble doing these missions. Unless it's a freaking mirror defense on the 3rd stage of Deep Archimedea. Then you just kind of have to pray a bit. Yeah. That's the only thing that really sucks. Leave it a like, subscribe, and peace.
Till next time.